All right, everyone, welcome back to Jen and Ren's Coach for the Future chat room. Today, we're covering the 10 things we wish we knew entering our first job.
Yeah, exciting. I mean, there was so many things that I wish I had known so many years ago before I ended up changing careers completely 10 years later. So the first thing I think we were going to say, so there's 10 things today, but the first thing is your first job doesn't define you.
Yeah.
And you want to say what you think?
Yeah. So this was one that I got hung up with, and it was, all tied into my ego and worried about how people would see my profile on LinkedIn with my job title beneath of it, or what my old high school friends would think, or my family, that all that nonsense. um, and I think it held me back from, sending in applications to more opportunities just because of that. I didn't want to associate myself with certain job titles, which it really like I said, it's nonsense because oftentimes the job titles actually don't really
Match what you actually
describe
do.
the task at hand. And even then, no one really clings to their job titles that much unless they've like created that title for themselves, like if it's something like CEO or director or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, it doesn't really matter. So and even if it's not something that you're worried about in terms of judgment, but maybe you're coming from a place where like, oh, but my degree is in this and I'm not sure if that makes a good fit with this job title, so I shouldn't bother applying for it. It doesn't matter. I mean, if anything, getting your resume out there and applying to as many opportunities as you can is just giving you that extra practice and keeping you motivated and in a rhythm of applying, so that you'll eventually get more and more opportunities for interviews and more likelihood of getting hired. So yeah, so don't get hung up on the title.
I think that's really really important actually, because a lot of my clients feel like they are actually, that's the word you use, defined by it, and also it's limiting because it makes you think that that's all you are, that you're not good at anything else. And there's actually loads of jobs out there, even completely different careers, that you can use the skills you've learned in that specific job. So don't feel like you're limited by a few words. You're much more than a few words. And that's the very important point. And that leads me on to the second point that we want to talk about, which is you can change jobs. I'm a career coach, and so I help a lot of people with career transition, and I help a lot of people who've had enough with their first career, who've never liked it in the first place, try to transition and get a new career. I do that at very different levels. So I do that at the senior level. I've had people who've done their career for 20 years and wanted to change. Some people have done it for 10 years, wanted to change. And some people, 1 year. They've spent 1 year in a job, for example, in finance, usually finance, weirdly enough. And they hated it because it wasn't what they wanted to do. They were initially doing, writing or a job, or they had done a degree in English and they ended up doing finance. Because life is like that sometimes, and an opportunity came up and they got worried and they went for the opportunity. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. It's fine. Having the job is just a job. It's like, deciding to take a new course, like a new, I don't know, you said you liked dancing last time, right? Well, you started a new ballet course and you just don't get on with the people there, or that type of dance doesn't suit you. It's fine, you choose another thing because you're like, oh well, it's a hobby, so it needs to be fun, so why would I stick to it? Same for the job. If the job doesn't suit you, it's fine. You can do the exact same thing as you would do for your hobby. You can just change it and go to another one. And I see it every day, and I see people starting completely different careers and starting their own businesses from scratch. It's much easier than people think. It's about believing in it, and the hardest bit is about just admitting it. So just, if you don't like it, change. It's fine. Don't waste your time worrying and fearing and everything like that. And if you are feeling stuck, career coaches are here as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good. And so our third one was, you have more skills than you think.
Important.
And this is that idea of being able to shift career interests. You're not um, locked into staying with the professional skills or the academic skills that you learned for a particular job or industry. You actually have a bunch of skills, and sometimes we forget that we have these extra skills because it didn't show up as a certificate. So what I'm talking about here is like interpersonal skills, um, or just natural given talent type of skills, and use them. Like they're like it will actually get you a lot farther, and you'll be enjoying it because it will come naturally, and it feels good to use those kinds of skills. So
I think the idea is that it doesn't need to be difficult. Like we always feel like it has to be like, it has to be trying, it has to be hard to learn a new skill. Otherwise you don't really deserve it. I mean, again, you use the word nonsense earlier, and I'm not saying that in itself is wrong. Some people value that and value the hard work and the effort. But there is absolutely nothing wrong. In the contrary, it's normal and good to go and do the things you're naturally good at. Imagine a pianist. Imagine somebody who's very naturally good at playing piano. I mean, why would he go and, if he enjoys it and is great at it, why not become great, even better at it, learn how to play properly and then do it? Yeah, it comes much easily to him. Does that make him less good? No, it makes him even better.
yeah.
So go and do it. I think that's a really good point. And saying that the skills as well is more than just academic skills. And that is so true. We get hung up on the word skills, and I think that's a real problem. It's what makes you different from another person is you, not the things. You can always learn a skill.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be a certificate skill. Like you, even on your resume, you can list your skills that like are just your natural skills, or and like you said earlier, like sometimes we don't even see it as a skill, and because we think of the word skill as something that is technical, that requires training and accreditation. But yeah, like it can be a soft skill, an interpersonal skill, and you can still use that to your advantage to make you stand out and make you hireable, and yeah, a great member to the team that you're looking to join.
Absolutely. And I think not knowing that and valuing those is very, very important. Valuing what comes to you naturally. Everybody has things that come to them naturally, and it's about valuing that. I completely agree. The fourth point we were going to say was to set boundaries with yourself. And in terms of what I mean by that is at work. So when we start off a job, we're often very keen and we feel like we've got a lot of things to prove. And we're pretty much willing to do everything and anything under the sun. What I would say is be careful, because you can actually burn out. And initially you'll be living on adrenaline. You'll just be going with, oh yeah, I can absolutely get this. I can do this. I'm in my 20s. I can do this. And the thing is, it will wear you down. And at one point, the more you do it, the more people will start expecting of you. So I think the big thing is to also remember that life is so much more than work. And it's to, obviously be keen, like enjoy it, go the extra mile if you feel like going the extra mile, but don't feel you have to all the time. Don't feel this thing over your head that if you don't stay late every single night, you're going to be, no, live your life. Work is a part of life. It doesn't define you again. Right? And I think that's a really important thing. You don't have to, you are making yourself do it. And you can show that you're keen, you can show you love your job without making yourself ill. And if you're in a job that requires you to make yourself ill, think about it twice. That job.
And it's so unfortunate because there are so many jobs, especially like for entry level jobs, where it's almost like it's what do you call it, when you pay your dues, when you like to prove yourself that you've earned it, that you have to come early and leave late. And like it's like you said, like you just get burnout, and
because you want to be doing this for a long time. You don't have to be working for a long time. This is not like university or where you have a specific stint, time in your life where it's going to last 2 years and you have to give it 2 years of your life and really, really work hard. No, work is for your life. So that's why it's important you enjoy it. And that's why it's important you know how to set your boundaries for yourself. And also, like, that leads us in then to the next point, doesn't it? Your fifth point.
So so number 5 was set boundaries with others,
Yeah.
which really complements the latter. So or the former rather. So um, don't I mean, yes, it is important to demonstrate enthusiasm, to be a supportive team member, to show your boss that you're capable of handling the work. But it's within your human right to say, like, no, I need to go home and walk my dog, or spend an evening having dinner with my partner, or like, be a human. And because one thing that I noticed was, the more I wanted to please my boss or please my coworkers, they would start to expect that of me. And even if they didn't mean to, they would start to slowly kind of take advantage, or just expect me to be there and be ready and just be the one to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
Very much like when you're doing like a school project, and but again, like, it wasn't always with malintention, right? It's not like the people that I worked with were bad people and they were abusing me, or but it just, because you start to set the norm for yourself, and what people can expect of you going forward. So and that really goes back to the work-life balance that you just mentioned as well. So don't be afraid to set those boundaries early with your boss, your manager, your coworkers, and just be like, no, like, I really want to go home, and or I have I want to go to the gym, or whatever. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think those 2 points are really linked, isn't it? Because it's just so important not to lose yourself in it. And it's about taking ownership. It's not the people around you, they're not responsible for your well-being. I mean, a company is to a certain extent responsible to its employees, but at the end of the day, you are responsible for your own well-being. And it's about sort of seeing that and making that your priority, so you can be a really good employee, you can be great at what you do, and you can be healthy and happy. And you shouldn't be compromising on that. If you are starting to compromise, then maybe that's the time to start thinking why. Right. So I think that's a really important thing, is if you're starting to feel that the balance in your life is shifting and something's not right, then it's the time to start wondering why that's happening, because it should be. For you, it should be. Yeah. So that leads me probably to the to the sixth one. Number 6, be yourself. So oh yes, be kind to yourself. That was really one big thing that I wanted to say, was it's okay if you're not on top of everything. So when you start off, you always feel like you've got all of these tasks that are thrown at you, or new things you've never done before. And obviously work is very different from school, university, and things you were used to, where you had specific tasks given to you and they knew that they were manageable in a time that's manageable. Sometimes some companies might be micromanaging, or having the ability to have really good managers who will be always present and make sure you've got the right level of work. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll be expected to manage yourself, or you'll have a manager who's busy himself and won't be able to, so it's for you. So again, about setting the boundaries, it's important to talk. And it's important to be kind with yourself and being like, it's okay that you can't always be on top of everything sometimes. And they will always be as well. Some jobs are just not finite tasks, they're ongoing tasks, and you will always have the task to continue tomorrow. So it's about when it's time as well to just finish the day and be like, okay, now I've done my tasks today. I've got where I need to get to, or I've got where I can get to, and whatever I've done enough is gonna whatever I've done today is gonna have to be enough. I think that was a big lesson for me. Just don't try constantly, because you'll get something new tomorrow.
And it can feel very stressful when you feel like you're starting to fall behind, especially when you're still in that probationary period as a new employee, and you're worried, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose my job, they're gonna fire me, they're not gonna extend my contract because I failed the probationary period. But you have to think big picture, like, yes, there is a probationary period for the reason of sussing people out, make sure that they're a good fit, but still, they're also going to be mindful that this is a brand new job, even if it was part of your training from university, even if you have all the right experience and skills required, you know, you're still entering new territory, and you're learning new things as you go. There's always going to be new skills that you have to learn as you go. And so they shouldn't expect you to know everything from day one or week one. That's what those first 3 months are there for, so that you can be in that learning zone where you're allowed to make some mistakes, and to get that extra support that you might need to help keep you going, so that by the end of your probationary period, you know, everyone on your team, including yourself, you feel confident that, like, yes, like, you know, I learned everything that I need to, and now I can go forward on my own a little bit more. So
Completely. And that kind of leads us so well into point 7, which was asking for help. I mean,
mm,
why is that so important? I mean, they know you don't know everything, right? It's your first job. They're aware. I mean, I've employed a lot of people before, and I know how it is to sort of, you know, interview somebody, and I know what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for somebody who has all the answers. I'm looking for a personality. I'm looking for a way of thinking, and I'm looking for somebody who can learn it, because in the end of the day, it's about learning. It's about adapting. Work is about, it's like life. It's learning and adapting. That's all it is. How quickly you can do that and get good and comfortable in doing that.
mhm,
That's really what the bottom line is. So it's okay. They know you don't know everything. So do ask for help. Ask if you know, say it, voice it. If you're starting to feel that you're overwhelmed or something, just go to your manager and say it, or go to the HR and say, you know, why, and try and think about it. Try and think to yourself, why am I? And try and come up with, you know, some sort of fix. What would help you? Try and go there with a positive. So you know, yeah, I'm overwhelmed. So what can I do? What would help me to do my job better?
mhm,
And then say, this is, I've come up with this positive solution. But go
yeah,
and ask, voice it. Don't just suffer in silence, because in
yeah,
the end, that's just gonna it's gonna be a problem for you, and believe me, it's gonna be a problem for the company as well in the long run.
yeah,
So they will
yeah,
rather know.
mhm,
But if you come up with something and say what it is that you need, that shows a lot. That shows your self-awareness, and that will give them a solution, which is even better. Managers love
yeah, yeah.
it. So yeah, ask for help. 7. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Now that said, there are those moments when, you know, like for the little tiny little things that you have a question, you're really not sure, it could go either way. And this is for number 8. When in doubt, use common sense. You know, reconnect with your gut instinct. More often than not, your common sense is going to lead you to the right answer. So when there's those silly little questions where you're just like, oh, I just can't remember, do I file it in this folder, or, you know, those kinds of little things, just use your common sense, because it's usually the right one. I mean, that doesn't mean that you should glaze over the first one that we mentioned about asking for help, of course, but you know, there's always those little
Yep.
moments here and there where it's like, oh, I know I should know this, but you know, I'm not sure, or I've never
Trust
encountered this.
yourself a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, trust yourself. Exactly. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a really important one, actually. Trust yourself, and also we always go and make our decisions now with our mind instead of just doing it as well with our instinct. And it's actually very, very important to sort of reconnect with that gut feeling that something's right or wrong, because at the end of the day, that's what most of us go with.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we don't regret.
And it's what your managers or your bosses
Mm.
actually really want to see you
Yeah.
be like, thrive with, is like
Intuitive.
following your gut and trusting yourself, because then they will have even more trust
Yeah.
for you. And then, you know, one day it might lead to like, hey, I'm going to go on vacation, do you want to take over the team for me while I'm in town in Hawaii or the Caribbean or whatever. So
Lovely.
because yeah, if you can continue to show that you are connected to your instinct, and um, can follow, like, you know, the logic of your own intuition, you know, and not just rules, regulation, you know,
Yeah.
it's not always black and white. You
particularly
listen
in
to
a
your
company. I
instinct.
mean, what, you know, at the end of the day, practicalities take over a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know, who are your customers? Whether all that's going to save me time, whether it's going to make me more
Yeah.
money, right? That's what it's about in a lot of companies in the end. So it's about practicalities. It's not always about the right answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that probably leads us to what you were going to say as well, which was point 9: don't quit your hobbies.
Yes, yeah. So we mentioned this one quite a bit, but we're mentioning it again because it's still important. And it's one that I particularly had to remind myself to do when I started my first job, was to continue the activities that I enjoyed. And because sometimes your first job, you know, because it's an entry level job, you're not always able to express yourself creatively right off the bat. You know, you have to prove that your creative ideas have value for the team and for the projects and whatnot. So, and even if it's not in a case like that, just you know, the hobbies, the activities, like continue doing them on the side and make time for them because it's making time for yourself.
Yeah, that's a very important point. It kind of links up to the first one that we started with, isn't it? About life-work balance, and actually work is just a part of life. And I hate, actually, I use it and I don't like it, work-life balance. Work is a part of life,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it actually doesn't work, but you
Yeah.
know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
And the last, which takes us to the big last, number 10, which for me is the core of everything, is the message: do what you are. So the biggest thing I wish I had known before starting my career, and all of my clients really come to me for, is getting clarity about who they are, what they love, what matters to them, so that then they can go and have a fulfilling career. Right? A fulfilling career is something that is more than just something that brings you money or something you feel you have to go to because you need it in order to pay your bills. Yeah, there is an element of that. We all need it, right? And we all need to pay our bills at the end of the day. And I took that leap. I became my own boss without worrying about bills and not being sure how to do it, but I did it, and I had a fulfilling career. I'm doing something I love doing, that means something to me, that makes the difference I want to make in the world, and uses my natural skills of who I am. And if you can do that, and that's what I want for you, if you can do that, then you will have that fulfilling career. So I guess for me, it's about, you know, really focus on who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, and go down that route. And if you're no longer on it, like we said before, you can change it. It's fine. But reconnect with that rather than looking for a needle in a haystack of different jobs. Know what your needle looks like and get a magnet for it, and make sure you can walk towards it. Right? That's kind of what, and the magnet is you. So that's the message. That's the end message. It's a big one, I think, is to try and really do that. So it was lovely. I mean, I really always have fun with our chat, friend. Really loved it. Do you want to go through the list again so that the people have
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
So the first one, your job does not define you.
Yeah. Very important.
Yeah. And you know, if you get into a job and it's not working out for you, don't panic. You can change it. That's totally doable.
Yeah.
There's no one who's saying you have to stay down that path. You have more skills than you think. Always think of not just the practical skills, the certifications and whatnot, but your natural skills, interpersonal skills, all that stuff. Set boundaries with yourself and set boundaries with others so that you can make sure that you're still living like a human. You don't get burnout. Be kind to yourself, which kind of ties back into 4 and 5. Ask for help. So don't be afraid to ask for help. No one's expecting you to be perfect or an expert right off the bat. That's what you
they
work on
actually expect for. That you're an ask for help.
Yeah, they do expect you to ask for help. Yeah. But that said, when in doubt, use common sense and reconnect with your gut, because your gut instinct will often lead you to the right answer. Don't quit your hobbies. We mentioned that one a lot, but we always mention it again because it's so
Yeah.
important. And as Jen wrapped up very nicely, do what you are.
Yeah,
Mhm.
really reconnect with what matters to you, and you'll absolutely be fine. And also remember, this is a journey. Life and a career is a journey. It's about enjoying the journey rather than just rushing to the finish line, right? No one wants to be at the finish line of the journey. Everybody wants to be enjoying it. So that's what it's about. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this is really fun, and if you enjoy it, let us know if you have any other things you would like us to talk about, any things you want to, any comments, leave us a comment or send us an email. If you've got topics, specifically burning topics, do let us know. Feel free to subscribe as well to our videos if you're watching this on YouTube, and we'll be back next week again. Until then, see you
Take
soon.
care.
Take care. Bye.